From Claire getting on top of Jamie with a knife to his neck to their explosively hot reunion after 20 years of being separated, here are some of the steamiest moments from Outlander. In Season 1's Episode 9, Jamie Fraser pisses his brand new wife off, but is he prepared for Claire to put a knife to his neck? Nope. The man is entirely taken by surprise, but from the looks of it, he's also kind of into it. This was the most controversial moment in the Outlander book, because Jamie thought it was okay to punish Claire for disobeying him by slapping her with a belt. He had no idea how outdated his actions were, and considering how Claire doesn't even belong to the 18th century, she was mad. But soon, Fraser realizes that he did something very wacky and begs for her forgiveness. While holding his knife against his chest, he tells her that if he ever raises his hand to hurt her again, he would deserve the same knife piercing through his heart. Who could resist that speech? Not only does Claire forgive him, but it gets her in the mood, and it leads to the sexiest lovemaking the show has seen yet. I mean, the man's trying to make it up to her, and she's on top of him, taking full control, as she should. But there's a catch. She holds his dagger against his throat the entire time. Sure, Jamie's a little scared of her, but for the most part, he's having the time of his life. She then tells him that if he ever raises his hand at her again, she will cut his heart out and eat it as breakfast, making sure he understands her point. Yes, Claire, everyone heard you loud and clear. But while the woman can eat a heart for vengeance, she can also heal them. And Episode 4 of Season 2 was exactly about that. Jamie and Claire had their first intimate moment after Jack Randall's torture, and it was heartbreaking, even though everyone had been waiting for it. Season 1's ending was terrible. Randall held Jamie captive and assaulted her in unimaginable ways. By the time he finally returned to Claire, he was a broken man, and the fun, playful Jamie we knew was gone. In fact, he couldn't even sleep with Claire anymore, because his abuser would pop back up in his mind, ruining the moment for him. Now, everybody knew that he wanted to be close to Claire, and as they are in Paris after several months have passed, they reconnect for the first time. Jamie opens up to his wife, saying that he wants to find a way back to her, but he doesn't feel like a man, which is why he thinks he doesn't deserve her. Claire tells him that she's felt lonely and confused at times, but nobody understands Jamie the way she does. He offers to sleep in his quarters for the night, but then Claire returns to him and gets on top. You know how the rest goes. Jamie wastes no time responding to her advances. Sure, they're very slow and gentle with each other, but their sleeping together after so many episodes was a moment of hope for the entire fan base. This is where they knew that Jamie will be healed one day, all thanks to Claire. But the man's nothing short of a love expert himself, and one scene from Season 1's Episode 11 explains it perfectly. He used his hands for the first time, and it was mind-blowingly hot. The story reaches its climax at this point, as Claire shows off her skills in medicine to the people around her, and instead of being gratified, she gets accused of being a witch. This is where she's finally forced to come clean to Jamie, as she tells him she's traveled to the 18th century from the future. Of course, he's her husband and feels betrayed for a second, but understands why she kept it from him. He understands that she might have to go back to her own time because otherwise she'd be burned at the stake. Here starts what they think is their last night together, and as the two lay down, Jamie touches her. She tries to return the favor, but her husband stops her, telling her he wants to watch her while he pleasures her. True to his promise, Jamie patiently watches her until she climaxes. But the most appealing part of this scene was his generosity, since he wants to give her pleasure, without even being touched. Luckily for him, Claire decides to stay, so there's a lot more fun in store for this guy. But in Season 2's Episode 13, Claire travels back to her time for real, but not before a proper goodbye. They share their last moment of intimacy in front of Craig na Dun. And boy, did it make the audience sad. They knew that this time was real, because Jamie decides to fight at the Battle of Culloden, putting Claire's life in danger. To make matters worse, she's pregnant with his child, and Jamie would never risk it by making her stand by his side. So he convinces her to go back to the 20th century and raise their children in the future. He brings her to the stones at Craig na Dun, where they share their last moment of passion. It's not their first time getting it on outdoors, but it's a quick and desperate act of love this time around. Clearly, neither wants to let the other go, but circumstances force them to this point. As Jamie says his goodbyes, he mentions how Lord gave him a rare woman and how he loves her a lot. And immediately after, they're on the ground, trying to get close to each other before they have to part ways. After they're done, they say their beautiful wedding vows again, confirming that as long as they're both alive, they belong to each other. Seeing Claire leave after that had me craving more of their intimacy already. But their journey didn't end there. A lot more of these passionate scenes were in store for the audience, and one of them had to do with turkey soup. Yep, in Season 3's episode 11, Claire gets drunk on a bowl of alcoholic soup and mischievously seduces Jamie to do her bidding. The context is important here, because Claire runs through the jungle to get to the beach where Jamie is, and in the process, she sliced her arm pretty badly. Later on, Mr. Willoughby stitches it up for her, and to help with the pain, he prepares her some turtle soup. Of course, she gets drunk, and here begins their flirting saga. She kisses Jamie once, and while he tries to act like the responsible one, he eventually gives in, passionately making out with her while they undress each other. The greatest thing about this scene is that there's no sadness. Claire is simply happy, and she lets loose and reconnects with her husband. For a moment, it almost feels like they're back to being their younger selves from Season 1 as they get it on, while still standing. They only stop when Mr. Willoughby interrupts them to ask how the soup was, but not all of their intimate scenes have been explosive like this. In fact, one moment had fans swooning nonstop, even though there was nothing sexual about it. In Season 4's episode 6, Claire and Jamie had a bathtub moment, and trust me, fans had been dying for it. The season didn't give the pair a lot of alone time, because let's face it, it's not easy to get intimate while living in a one-room cabin with family, but they still make it work, as Claire sits in the bathtub next to a warm fireplace. Jamie washes her, and when he pours warm water over her, he tells how the water on her skin makes him jealous of the rain. Jamie has always had a way with words, but his actions aren't lagging either. He then pulls out a present for his wife and gives her a brand new wedding band. If you guys remember, her first wedding band was stolen from her, and Jamie couldn't bear watching her without it. Of course, Claire's response is nothing but pure love. And as Jamie lifts her out of the bathtub and takes her back to bed, it's clear that these two could make the smallest moments look like the most romantic ones. But then again, I haven't told you about the one scene that had fans gasping for air. Their reunion after 20 years of separation was insane. And as always, Claire and Jamie knew exactly how to reconnect. After what felt like an eternity, they were finally back together. And after enduring 5 agonizing episodes of watching them apart, fans wanted some action. But it's not that easy. The process is slow as they talk and get to know each other all over again. After all, 20 years apart in 2 different times have changed them both. On the night of their passionate lovemaking, Jamie confesses that he's missed Claire for far too long, and Claire's afraid to reveal her body to Jamie after all these years. I mean, he's her husband, but she's still having second thoughts. All it takes is a playful head-on-nose bonk, and it breaks the ice, soothing their souls and easing them into each other. That's when they decide they're ready, and Claire asks him to do it now, warning him not to be gentle with her. It clarified one thing forever. Nothing can come between the Frasers, not even time. So, there you have it. Outlander enthusiasts, from Jamie and Claire having the steamiest reconnection after 20 years apart, to Claire holding a knife to Jamie's neck in the middle of their lovemaking. These were the steamiest Outlander moments to date.